Hello, everyone, and welcome. Wherever you are in the world at this precise moment, as I say, it's 10 o'clock here in England in the evening. So I want to say welcome and Merry Christmas, everyone. I just wanted to do this show. Uh, it's important that I needed to do this. It's the first time I'm doing my live at Christmas time. So I first of all want to do is quickly go to the chat and say, hello, Co-Train. Welcome, my friend. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Cheech, Merry Christmas to you, my friend. Have a good one. So, really, what I wanted to do this live for, I will go a little bit religious, but I just obviously wanted to use this time just to sort of reflect and go through the true meaning, the true essence of Christmas, because I know it gets lost in translation. So, first off, I just want to say thank you and Merry Christmas to everyone out there who's watching this live. For me, it's important, and we know with Christmas we associate it as a great time of getting together with family, and certain things as happens. Sometimes we lose loved ones around Christmas, and things happen, and we can let that intercept and disenfranchise us with Christmas. How you doing, Sonia? Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thank you for coming. And it's important that while bad things can happen, hello there, my man Tommy. Thank you for coming. Good to see you. Is that, Christmas is Christmas. It's always there for a reason. And just because something bad might happen around Christmas, I want us to try and get that out of our heads. Is that I've had people come to me in the past to say, "Oh, I hate Christmas. That bad things always happen around it. Christmas is not designed for that." How you doing, Donna? Good to see you. It's not Christmas's fault that something bad happens, and people should get that out of their heads and not associate Christmas with something bad happening. We look at it. I look at it from a routine point of view. It works out perfectly because Christmas is not only is it religious, and I'll get more into that, but also as well, it's the end of the year. We take it. I use it as time to have time off, also recharge my batteries, and I know that look, New Year's then on your doorstep, and we can then use that to sort of go forward and try again. It's like a marker for me. Might not be for everyone, but this is how I see it. So absolutely, Christmas is rough, but it is what it is, and I can't change it. Only try and make it better. 100% Co-Train. End of the day, when you're growing up, and if you're lucky enough, you have those great Christmases when growing up with your parents and things like that. And sometimes there's a tragedy. Sometimes something happens just in and around then. And so I just want to take this time for the moment for those that have lost loved ones, or especially if it's fresh. How you doing, Tommy Stiggs? Good to see you, my man. And just take a little time out and think about those people that are suffering, especially when they've had fresh incidents. You might have seen the news that someone's lost a loved one. And I just feel that's important, because what will happen is the stigma goes in the head that my Christmas is ruined because that particular incident happened around that particular time. And we need to realise that's not the case. Do not lose the essence of Christmas. And I know it's hard. Absolutely, 100%. Thoughts go out to them and the homeless. It's important. It's important that we try and keep what we were brought up to understand what Christmas was about. So I'm going to talk about some facts about Christmas. Christmas is a Christian festival, and it celebrates the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, as we know, Christians believe that Jesus was the Son of God, and for most it takes place every year on the 25th of December. Now, that's the day the Roman Catholic Church chose to mark Jesus' birthday. But, it's dubious. Some say that it's different, but we need to find a day to acknowledge the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, not all Christians celebrate Christmas on the same day. No. In countries with large populations of Orthodox Christians, I'll give you an example, such as Russia. Christmas Day falls on the 7th of January, and some Greek Orthodox Christians celebrate Christmas on the 7th of January too. Now, the name Christmas comes from the Old English phrase Christus Massi, which means Christ Mass. But what about Christmas? A lot of people think that this is just a modern day abbreviation, but it actually dates back to the 16th century. The X is said to represent the Greek letter Chi, which is the first letter in the Greek word for Christ. How you doing, Janie? Merry Christmas. Thank you for coming. Now, come Christmas, people around the world enjoy all kinds of jolly good fun. Many of the festive traditions we have in the UK today came about in the Victorian era, such as Christmas gifts, gift cards, gifts giving and crackers, as well as traditional foods like mince pies and roast turkey. Now, Queen Victoria and her husband, Prince Albert, were huge fans of Christmas. Now, Christmas trees also became popular in Victorian Britain. But these were first seen in the 16th century in Germany, where at Christmas time people decorated fir trees with fruits and nuts, and later sweets, paper shapes and candles. And amazingly, historians think that the origins of the festive tradition may date back to the Romans and ancient Egyptians, who ever used evergreen plants and garlands as symbols of everlasting life. Now, every year, Norway, Scandinavian country, sends a beautiful homegrown Christmas tree to London, where it's decorated with lights in Trafalgar Square, standing as 20 metres tall. The terrific tree is a gift to say thank you for the help to the UK gave during the World War. The Second World War, shall I say that. Now, Christmas, we can't talk about Christmas without mentioning the big bearded, red, rosy-cheeked jolly man. Yes, I said it, Father Christmas. But have you wondered how he got his name Santa Claus? Well, it's from Sinterklaas, which means Saint Nicholas in Dutch, the language of the Netherlands. Saint Nicholas was a Christian bishop who lived in the 4th century, known for being kind and generous. He became later the patron saint of children. Now, Santa isn't only a Christmas character, there are many more around the world. In Italy, right, for example, a kind witch called La Befania is said to fly around on a broomstick, delivering toys to children. And in Iceland, children leave shoes under the window for 13 mischievous trolls called Yule lads. Now, if the children have been good, they'll find sweets in their shoe. But if they've been bad, the Yule lads will leave them a rotten potato. Now, we all love the song to sing along to, which is Jingle Bells. But have you ever noticed that the Christmas song doesn't have the word Christmas in it, or Jesus or Santa Claus? That's because it wasn't originally a Christmas song. In fact, the Jolly Anthem was written in 1850 entitled One Horse Open Sleigh for the American holiday Thanksgiving. Now, imagine if there was no Christmas. Oh, that's hard to comprehend, that is. Does it feel quite strange? Well, sad perhaps. Well, believe it or not, in 1644, Christmas celebrations were made illegal in England and soon after in the English colonies in America too. At the time, members of the government felt that the religious meaning of Christmas had been forgotten and so banned the holiday festivities. Some people still celebrated the secret. However, until Christmas was once again illegal almost 20 years later. Well, there you go. See? Ah, Tommy, so you know that about Bethania. Good man. Good stuff. That was quite new to me. That's something I learned. Now, I'm going to just go a little bit, and I'm going to talk more about the Christmas messages. Hey, how you doing, Bambi? Good to see you. Now, what I'm going to talk about is, now in the Gospel according to St. John, now we read Jesus being described as the light. Jesus claims a title for himself when he says, I am the light of the world. But right from its earliest verses of the Gospel, in that wonderful reading, is the climax of our carol services. Now, John talks about the birth of Jesus being the true light of which was coming into the world. This is the light of God's love, which came to us most fully in person of Jesus. In the baby whose birth we celebrate Christmas, we're told that the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome. The darkness did not overcome it. That is our hope, our joy, and our peace. That is the message of Christmas. Because of however the dark world around us seems, however hopeless we might think some situations are, that light still shines in the darkness, and even when it flickers and threatens to go out, the darkness will not overcome it. How you doing, Donna? Good to see you. Thank you for coming. At Christmas, we celebrate Jesus coming as a baby to bring light, and even to the darkest and most desperate situations that we human being found in ourselves, he comes today and every day to bring glimmers of hope, even when all seems hopeless. And we can join in the sharing of that light, a smile to a stranger, a kind word in the queue or at the till, a thank you to someone who has helped us, or these little things that make a difference. They bring light into the world and could be the only glimmer of light and hope that someone might experience that day. Hello, Mr. Balding. Thank you for coming, sir. Now, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. May you know that the light in your life this Christmas, and may you be the light for others. Happy Christmas. So now I'm going to take this time to talk to you about my experiences with Christmas. Now, Christmas growing up, I was a privileged child in that sense. I am from a Catholic background, and Christmas was always like a marker, something to look forward to at the end of the year. Presents. As I say, my granddad, who was Irish Catholic from the Republic of Ireland, he made sure that he was like the old timers, where they brought structure around Christmas. So Christmas was always Boxing Day, round my nan and granddad's, the families would come round and we would all get together. Now, I'm not saying that we were religious, it weren't saying about going to church on Christmas Day, but it brought a togetherness, it brought, as I say, structure, which I feel that's missing in the community of today's. You know, it's not what it once was. And I was fortunate, always looking forward to Christmas, having presents on that day. But guess what? As time went on, my granddad passed away. We didn't have the coming together. Family drifted apart. Everything became more siloed. And Christmas sort of lost it. Now, I get it. As you get older, you kind of understand that Christmas is more built around for the children. So when you go on and you have kids of your own, it's meant to be about them. But the reality is what we all forget is that Christmas itself is a religious holiday. As I mentioned there, it's about the birth of Christ, right? So the important thing is what I'm noticing, and certainly it's happening in a lot of the countries in the Western world, is that because when Christianity seems to be on the decline, is that people don't seem to believe in God, but yet they celebrate Christmas. And Christmas, the true meaning of it is being overshadowed, and it's just all about presents now. Now we're going to say this: since the early 20th century, Christmas has also been a secular holiday. There you go. Observed by Christians and non-Christians alike, devoid of Christian elements and marked by an increasingly elaborate exchange of gifts. Now, in this secular Christmas celebration, a mythical figure, as I mentioned earlier, named Santa Claus, plays the pivotal role. Christmas time, running from Advent through Epiphany, is a season rich with countless religious and secular traditions that bring together family, faith, culture, while emphasizing themes of hope, joy, generosity, and goodwill. Now, there are only two scriptural accounts of Christ's birth, and they're found in the New Testament, one in the Gospel according to Matthew and the other in the Gospel according to Luke. Now, the Gospel according to Mark begins with Jesus as an adult, and the Gospel according to John starts with his prehistorical existence. Now, Luke's Gospel shares details of the incarnation in which the angel Gabriel announces to Mary that she will conceive a son by the power of the Holy Spirit. Now, to be called Jesus, and Mary consents, "Here I am, the servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to your word." Pregnant Mary then visits her relative Elizabeth, who is pregnant with John the Baptist's child in the visitations. Now, which is followed by Mary's moving hymn of the praise. That now, in that following chapter of the book, that it gives clues about the timing of Jesus' birth. Now, during a census taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and notes that he was laid in a manger because there was no other accommodations in Bethlehem. It is here that the story of the angels visiting the shepherds in the fields, announcing the birth of the Messiah, is recorded, with the awestruck shepherds visiting the baby that night. The account of Jesus' his infancy is concluded with his circumcision and naming, followed by his presentation at the Temple of Jerusalem, where he encounters the aged Simeon and the prophet Anna. Now, as I say, the Gospel according to Matthew begins with the genealogy of Jesus the Messiah, tracing his lineage from Abraham to King David to Joseph, Mary's husband. Now, the Gospel describes how Joseph, betrothed to Mary, was told by the angel in a dream that Mary's pregnancy was conceived by the Holy Spirit in accordance with the prophecy, and that Jesus will save his people from their sins. Now, Christ's birth is noted with little other detail. Following the chapter describes the famous visit of the Magi guided by the Star of Bethlehem and the Holy Family's escape to Egypt as Herod brutally massacres innocent children in search of Christ's child. Now, for Christians mark the event in which God became human, born as a helpless baby in a stable for livestock. Now, the incarnation is a key moment of the story of salvation, and is understood as the beginning of an act of divine love for the humanity that culminates in Christ's death and resurrection at Easter. Yankees for life. Thank you for coming, my friend. Good to see you. Now, the humble birth of Christ reveals the paradox of divine majesty expressed through human vulnerability and poverty. Indeed, the entire Christmas story is filled with miracles and symbolic contrasts. Yeah, a pregnant virgin, lowly shepherds heralded by an angelic throng, and a Jewish baby gifted riches by gentle magi. Now, theologically, these events identify Jesus as the prophesied and long-awaited Messiah who will bring spiritual redemption. Now, as one such a fulfillment from the Old Testament prophecy, Jesus is also called Emmanuel in Matthew, meaning God is with us, a name that expresses the Christian belief that God physically entered human history and continues to dwell with believers. The Christmas season is thus fulfilled with hope and joy for Christians who celebrate that loving and present, and God has provided a way for sinful humanity to be reconciled with the divine. Now, I did say there was going to be a bit of religious talk about it, and it's right, because at the end of the day, that's what Christmas is, its true meaning, its true essence. Now, I am going to allow and invite people up from the chat. I'll put the link in here anyway, because I've got a little bit more reading to do. So I just want, if people want to come up and enjoy the panel, it is Christmas Eve, and just, if they want to, just talk about Christmas, share anything they want. They don't have to share anything they don't want to. But I'll put that there in the chat, and I'm going to continue and talk about the development of Christmas as a holiday. Now, the early Christian community distinguished between the identification of the date of Jesus' birth and the liturgical celebration of that event. Oh, the actual observance of the day of Jesus' birth was long in coming, in particular during the first 2 centuries of Christianity. There was strong opposition to recognising birthdays of martyrs or, for the matter of Jesus. Numerous church fathers offered sarcastic comments about the pagan custom of celebrating birthdays, when in fact saints and martyrs should be honoured on the days of their martyrdom, their true birthdays, from the church's perspective. Now, the precise origin of assigning December the 25th as the birthday of Jesus is unclear. The New Testament provides no clues in this regard. December the 25th was the first identified as the date of Jesus' birth by Sextus Julius Africanus in 221, and later became the universal accepted date. One widespread explanation of the origin of this date is that December the 25th was the Christianizing of the Dies Solis Invicti Nati, which basically means the day of the birth of the unconquered sun. A holiday in the Roman Empire that celebrated the winter solace as a symbol of the resurgence of the sun, the casting away of winter, and the heralding of the rebirth of spring and summer. Indeed, after December the 25th had become widely accepted as the date of Jesus' birth, Christian writers, and they frequently made the connection between the rebirth of the sun and the birth of the sun. One of the difficulties with this view is that it suggests a nonchalant willingness on the part of Christian church to appropriate a pagan festival, when the early church was so intent on distinguishing itself categorically from pagan beliefs and practices. Now, a second view suggests that December the 25th. Hello, Martha. Sorry. How are you doing? Merry Christmas. Thank you for coming. Good to see you. December the 25th became the date of Jesus' birthday by a priori reasoning that identified the spring equinox as the date of the creation of the world and the 4th day of creation, when the light was created, as the day of Jesus' conception. Now, 9 months later then became the date of Jesus' birth. For a long time, the celebration of Jesus' birth was observed in conjunction with baptism, which is celebrated on January the 6th. Now, Christmas began to be widely celebrated with specific liturgy in the 9th century, and it did not attain the importance of either Good Friday or Easter, the other 2 major Christian holidays in the Roman Catholicism, should say, where the holiday is the holy day of obligation. Churches typically celebrate the first Christmas Mass at midnight and colourful vestments in white. So they wear white. Now, Eastern Orthodox churches honour Christmas on December the 25th. However, for those that continue to use the Julian calendar for their observance, the date corresponds to January the 7th on the Georgian calendar. Now, the churches of the Oriental Orthodox Communion celebrate Christmas variously. For example, right, Armenia, those of you know that it's one of those countries that's just out in it sort of Eastern Europe off Russia, is the first country to adopt Christianity as its official religion. The church uses its own calendar. The Armenian Apostolic Church honours January 6th as Christmas. In Ethiopia, where Christianity has had a home since the 4th century, the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church celebrates Christmas on the 7th of January. Most of the churches of the Syriac Orthodox Patriarchate and Antioch of all the East celebrate Christmas on December the 25th at the Church of Nativity in Bethlehem. However, the Syriac Orthodox celebrate Christmas on January 6th, with the Armenian Apostolic Church congregations and the Coptic Orthodox Church of Alexandria, follow the date on December the 25th from the Julian calendar, which corresponds to Kayak on 29 on the ancient Coptic calendar. Now, origins of the word Christmas and other names. The English term for Christmas is a fairly recent origin. The term originated from the Middle East, as I mentioned earlier, of Christ Mass, and which is one of the old English Christ Mass in Roman Catholicism and certain other Christian groups as a Mass in celebration of the Eucharist. Now, the earlier term Yule may have derived from the Germanic or Anglo-Saxon, which referred to the Feast of Winter Solstice. The correspondence terms in other languages, Navidad, which is in Spanish Natal, or which is Italian, or Noel in French, all probably denote from nativity. Now, the German word Weihnachten denotes the hallowed night. Now, do you know what? I've waffled enough. I've wanted to take this time just to sort of hit home and just get the brains thinking a little bit what Christmas is about. As you know, a lot of you know that I got confirmed this year, and I felt it was important. Now, I did try going down to my church earlier because I wanted to do midnight mass. Anyway, I got told by a little dicky bird that midnight mass is not happening. You have to get down there between 5 and 12. So I popped down there and the church was closed. So now for me, it's more important, I think, that I get down there tomorrow at Christmas morning at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to go there for a walk, and I just feel that for me, it's important. I'm not preaching to you. You do what you want to do on Christmas. As I say, this is my show, and I'm telling you how I feel and what I want to do. And I'm going to go down there, and it just lets me cast back my thoughts, makes me think about things. That this is not just time off, that there's something more of a true meaning behind it, something that's been in my family for generations, and it's probably been in families for many generations, and the message has just got lost. I just want, if you can take anything away from this life, it's just to make you stop and think that maybe even those that are suffering pain at Christmas, is it, we have to get up and we have to carry on. And it's important that we do this. We do this for everybody around us. We do this for our loved ones. We do this for our friends. Now, I'm going to put the link in the chat. I don't expect anyone to come up, but if there's anyone in the chat that has any questions, no, I'm happy to answer them. You can come up, say your bit, say your piece. Everybody's welcome. More than happy. This is what it's there for. This is not just me just hammering out something. I like this to be a bit of an interaction. So please come up if you're there. No problem at all. Shelby's out in the kitchen. So, how are you doing, Patrick? Merry Christmas, my brother. Good to see you. Merry Christmas. It's, as I say, It's like nearly half past. It's just gone 10:30 in the evening on Christmas Eve. I hope you're all well. I hope you're going to be spending time with the family tomorrow. I know you. So your daughter plays football. That's right, Patrick. I think you bought her a new pair of football boots for Christmas. Good man. So it's good. It's all good. So the link's there in the chat. If you don't want to come up, no problem. Fire a question in the chat, and I'll elaborate on it. No problem. Good stuff. I'm glad, I'm glad for all the people that I met on YouTube. So that's something to reflect for me. I went over to in April, went over to New York, Buffalo, went to Jacksonville, Florida. That's positive things to reflect about this year. I just want to have peace and harmony. I know that sometimes it's too much to ask for. We all have our own problems. But, the true core of me comes back to what I am. So, on that note, if there's no one that wants to come up and join me, no problem. I just then want to make sure that and wish you all a Merry Christmas. Enjoy it. Make the most of it. Because, as I say, friends and family, they're not around. They're not going to be around forever. We just have to understand the true essence of it all. Be with our loved ones. That's all that matters to me. I hope that aligns with those of you out there that are watching this. So, on that note, that's perfect for me. And now I'm just going to leave you with this.